As acting commissioner, I want to apologize on behalf of the Internal Revenue Service for the mistakes that we made and the poor service we provided.
Do you believe it is illegal for employees of the IRS to create lists to target individual groups and citizens in this country?
I don't believe it is.
You knew the terms Tea Party patriots were being used. You just acknowledged a minute ago that they were outrageous. And then when you were asked about this, after you were briefed about this, that was the answer you gave us? How can we not conclude that you misled this committee?
I did not mislead the committee.
Can you assure this committee that none of the information provided to the IRS by these groups was shared or given to any other federal agency?
I would be shocked, Congressman, if that happened. Shocked.
Continuing coverage of the White House response to reports that the IRS targeted conservative groups for further review before the election in 2012. President Obama says he learned about the accusations on Friday from the same news reports that everybody else saw. With us now is John Bussey, the assistant managing editor and executive business editor for the Wall Street Journal newspaper, which is owned by the parent company of this network, and he is a Fox News analyst, or with a Fox News analyst, Arthur Aidala. He learned on Friday when we did.
This is going to be the issue, right? The timeline of who knew what when.
It always is.
So people on Capitol Hill were complaining about this to the IRS because they were getting complaints from their constituents saying, we're getting kind of the runaround here. We're getting scrutinized for our application for tax-free status.
Now, Representative Kevin Brady had a constituent, and he was talking about this, and this was a woman who had Tea Party affiliation, and she had applied for this tax-exempt status in July of 2010, and they said 20 months later, in February 2012, she received a letter from the IRS, a lot of questions. She answered them all. Now, almost 3 years to the day that she first filed, her application is still pending. Take a listen to Representative Brady.
She was visited by the FBI Domestic Terrorism Unit. Her personal returns and her business returns were both audited by the IRS. She received 4 FBI inquiries. This is a citizen and a small businesswoman who had never been audited by the IRS. Is this still America? Is this government so drunk on power that it would turn its full force, its full might, to harass and intimidate and threaten an average American who only wants her voice and their voices heard?
Doesn't sound like America. It sounds more like
America with 3 Ks.
Yeah,
that's what it
exactly.
sounds
Well,
like.
I don't know.
This is the question from a Bloomberg reporter at the news conference a short time ago. Can you, Mr. President, assure the American people that nobody in the White House knew about the agency's actions before your counsel's office found out on April the 22nd? The agency, she was referring to the IRS. It was absolutely crystal clear. One more time. Can you assure the American people that nobody in the White House knew about the agency's actions before your counsel's office found out on April 22nd? Roll it.
Let me make sure that I answer a specific question. I can assure you that I certainly did not know anything about the IG report before the IG report had been leaked through the press. Typically, the IG reports are not supposed to be widely distributed or shared. They tend to be, a process that everybody's trying to protect the integrity of.
He said, let me make sure I answer your specific question, and then he went on to absolutely not answer the specific question. Why? Here was the question again. Can you assure the American people that nobody in this White House knew about the agency's actions before your counsel found out on April 22nd? The allegation is that the IRS was targeting conservative groups. The IRS has admitted as much, every bit of it. And the question is, did the White House know? Because the follow-up question, if the White House did know, did you direct any of it? That's the next question. So when the question was asked, can you assure the American people that nobody in the White House knew about the agency's actions before your counsel's office found out on April 22nd, he said?
Let me make sure that I answer a specific question. I can assure you that I certainly did not know anything about the IG report before the IG
that wasn't the question. Nobody said anything about the IG report. No, this wasn't about the Inspector General's report. This was a very simple question. Did anybody, not you, did anybody in the White House know that the IRS was targeting anybody, in this case, conservative groups? That was the question. Then he said, let me specifically answer you the question, and then he specifically did not answer the question. Judge Napolitano is here, along with Mike Santoli as well. But Judge, as Megan pointed out in the last hour, this isn't a court of law. But if that question were asked in a courtroom and that answer were given,
the person who asked it would ask that the answer be struck because it wasn't responsive to the question. And a judge, not just me, any judge in any courtroom would say, answer the question. This is a Clinton-esque answer. This is an effort to answer a different question, knowing there couldn't be a follow-up because this is not a courtroom and they limited the questions at this presser, and hoping that this would go away.
it's not going away.
In fact, he's made it worse with this answer.
Mike, if the White House knew, we're in new territory.
If the White House knew about the activity, not just the details of the IG report.
See, that wasn't the question. The question was, did you know about the agency's activities?
Probably is a new territory. And I also think that this entire kind of mode of now we're figuring out, we're parsing exactly who knew what when, shows you why this thing is not going to be dispensed with the resignation of an interim IRS chief, right? So this is going to flower on from here. We have to have a full airing of exactly what happened.
Jay Carney got the same thing. Listen to what Jay Carney said, not today, before. Listen.
That nobody at the White House and nobody on the president's political team had any knowledge or was involved in any way in the targeting of Tea Party groups by the IRS?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
I mean, look, we found out about this.
See, now that was the answer Tuesday from Jay Carney, but today they asked Jay Carney's boss, the President of the United States, can you assure the American people that nobody in the White House knew about the agency's actions before your counsel's office found out on April the 22nd? Roll it.
Let me make sure that I answer a specific question. I can assure you that I certainly did not know anything about the IG report before the IG.
Okay, I think we've made the point now.
Yes.
If Jay Carney was right on Tuesday, and the answer is we didn't know, we need to hear that, because that's a big deal. And we need the answer from the man in charge of the nation to be responsive. That's only fair, because if they knew, the next question is, did you direct this? The question would be, are you orchestrating a campaign against political enemies from inside the White House?
In order to undo the effects of a Supreme Court decision that you have publicly condemned and that they have availed themselves of.
No one is suggesting that that's what happened. Because if the answer from the president is no, we didn't know, there is no follow-up question. It's over. That's it. Answered, no, you didn't. We'll keep checking to make sure that's accurate. But that's the end of the questioning. And if the answer is yes, there's another question. So we need the first answer.
We need an environment in which somebody, like you just did, Shep, can follow up with questions rather than this one question and then we move on to another question in a foreign language to a foreign leader.
To me, this isn't about conservative groups being targeted. That's not what this is about. This is about the government going after a citizen wrongly.
Because of the citizen's speech, political speech, the highest protected speech we have.
That's all this is. Partisans want to make this about Republicans and Democrats and left and right. And that's not what this is. This is about the government and the people. The government can't do this. The Constitution says no.
This reconfirms everything that the American public believes. This is a huge blow to the faith and trust that the American people have in their government. Is there any limit to the scope of where you folks can go? Is there anything at all? Is there any way that we could ask you, is there any question you shouldn't have asked? My goodness, how much money do you have in your wallet? Who do you get emails from? Whose sign do you put up in your front yard? This is a tax question? Now, you don't think that's intimidating? It's sure as hell intimidating. And I don't know that I got any answers from you today. And I don't know that what Mr. George has done is great work. But you know what? There's a heck of a lot more that has to come out in this. And anybody to sit here today and listen to what you have to say, I am more concerned today than I was before. And the fact that you all can do just about anything you want to anybody, you know, you can put anybody out of business that you want anytime you want. And I got to tell you, you talked about you're a horribly run organization. If you're on the other side of the fence, you're not given that excuse. And when the IRS comes in, you're not allowed to be shoddy. You're not allowed to be run horribly. You're not allowed to make mistakes. You're not allowed to do one damn thing that doesn't come in compliance. If you do, you're held responsible right then. I just think the American people have seen what's going on right now in their government. This is absolutely an overreach, and this is an outrage for all America.